How we doing today? It's Friday. It's IB Nation Sports Talks Rapid Fire, along with Vince DeDario, who's coming to you live from Penn High School out in
That's right.
Granger.
That's right. I'm basically here till like 11 o'clock. So I figure, hey, I can't let the people down. Still got to do the
Yeah,
show.
that's right.
So yeah, absolutely.
All right. Our old buddy Salty Virginia Peanuts is
He's
back,
back.
and he wasted no time putting me on the clock. We chimed in a little bit late today. Glad to have you back, Salty. Missed as always. Welcome to everyone else as well. Glad to have you with us. As always, it is Friday, and we, of course, come with it's not, I guess, breaking news at this point, but we have big
Right.
news today, news that broke earlier today. By the way, don't forget, keep an eye. The shirt is supposed to be unveiled here in a little
Oh,
bit.
that's
So I don't
right.
know.
Got to keep an eye on
Like,
that, don't we?
might want to watch Twitter and see what's
Yeah.
going on there. Just go ahead and smash that like button right now. Help out Irish Breakdown. Push us up. Push us up on that
That's right.
algorithm. You want to just jump right into the main
I-
topic and not beat around the bush since it's the big one?
It definitely
It's the
hit
big
me by
one, Elizabeth.
surprise.
It's a big one, Elizabeth.
Yes, it is. It's a big one. So we might as well jump in. I mean, what the heck? Why not?
Fill in the blank. Lorenzo Styles entering the transfer portal is blank.
It's disappointing. Like it is disappointing for me. I was a huge Lorenzo Styles fan, obviously, when he was a freshman. Obviously, when, I along with everybody else was, I don't know if upset is the right word, but like disappointed in his season sophomore year. And then, he starts, I think, hit the ground running in the spring. And then all of a sudden he's moving over to corner. Like, I was like, well, he's going to find his spot. Like, I get it that he's a victim of the depth chart, unfortunately. And I understand where he's coming from, but it's still disappointing to me.
Yeah, I agree. And, Derek says it is understandable. I guess it is somewhat understandable because starting with the depth chart, I mean, that is essentially what this is all about. This experiment at cornerback. And that's also what makes it so odd, just like this whole everything that happened this week leading up to the news coming out today that he's entering the portal. I mean, they brought him out on Tuesday with the cornerbacks. They didn't have to. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
I'm sure he basically agreed to it, to come out and speak with the media that day. And he didn't seem like he was upset about the move. He just talked about, wanting to, he's a football player and wanting to play football, and he was going to do whatever to help the team. At least I guess he said all the right things, but still,
Absolutely.
That's only been 3 days ago that happened. Like that he came out, and then, Mike Mickens was talking about him, and, we had all the, the audio of all this different stuff. But, and again, I'm looking at Derek's comment, victim of talent. And you were talking about depth chart. And that is essentially what this comes down to, because he was the X receiver last year.
Yep.
And he was the X receiver with a lot of expectations, especially with the way he ended his freshman season with the massive Fiesta Bowl, with all he did in the Fiesta Bowl. And so all of a sudden there's all these expectations, but it just never came to fruition. Now, a lot of it on him, concentration errors and drops or concentration errors, lack of focus, that kind of stuff. But, Tobias Merriweather passed him up. And that's what you've got to look at
Absolutely.
now. It's not just like, everyone wants Tobias Merriweather. Well, Tobias Merriweather has justifiably passed Lorenzo Styles on the depth chart. And we're also more likely, I think, to see Jaden Thomas playing X receiver than we are. We're probably, if had Lorenzo Styles stayed, we were more likely probably to see Jaden Thomas than Lorenzo Styles out there at X as well. And then you've got all these freshmen coming on. You've got, well, could he play the slot? Well, you've got Chris Tyree moving to the slot. And of course, you still have Jaden Thomas who can play the slot as well. And then, you've got Deion Colsey, who's on the ascent. And, again, like Braylon James, Jaden Greathouse, Rico Flores Jr., like there's a lot of talent in that room right now, which I wrote about a couple of different times, since the receivers came out on Wednesday as well. Right. You can find some of that stuff at irishbreakdown.com if you want to see, kind of where a lot of those people are. I think a lot of people know. But then you look at the defensive side of the ball where you've got, of course, Benjamin Morrison, Cam Hart, Christian Gray hurt right now, but he's going to be a factor. Jaden Mickey's going to be a factor. Like where Clarence Lewis is the nickel. Like where did he fit in? Because as we've talked about, he sunk apparently lower on the receiver depth chart. He didn't make a blip at all this spring.
Right.
He was out there and we never talked about him. Again, we were only out there a handful of times, but there was never any buzz around Lorenzo Styles. And so he gives the cornerback thing a shot. Where's he going to play? So, and we were just talking yesterday about, well, if he's going to make this to corner again, because of the numbers there, does it make sense maybe to think about a redshirt year?
Right.
Apparently he wants to play right away. That's got to be what this is coming down to. He wants to play now. He doesn't want to think about red shirts, and he maybe doesn't even really want to think about position switches, unless if he goes to Ohio State with his brother Sonny, he's probably moving to the defensive side of the ball because that's where they recruited him coming out of high school.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, and we talked about it on this show, you and I, about he's got more of an opportunity to play if he stays on offense than if he goes to defense. He's, in my opinion, he's absolutely buried on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
At the very best, he'd be in the 2 deep, and then he'd get a series here or there. Offensively, he got passed up. You're absolutely right. He got passed up by Tobias Merriweather. Tobias Merriweather's starting. He's arguably the best wide receiver they have on the team. Done. Then at slot, you've got Jaden Thomas, who at the end of last year was arguably the best wide receiver that they had. He's going to start in the slot. And then to the field, that's where you've got Deion Colsey. So your starters are pretty much set in stone. Then, of course, you've got Chris Tyree, and he was coming on. He's really taking to the position better than I think a lot of people thought that he was going to. And to be honest, from everything that we're hearing, Rico Flores has closed that gap on Lorenzo Styles pretty quickly. So all of those things, I mean, the snaps were starting to dwindle. And I think Lorenzo probably saw the writing on the wall. And after the scrimmage this past Saturday, when, that was kind of going to determine the depth chart going into the summer, not the blue gold game, by the way, it's not really what this is, but he probably gave it everything that he had. And he probably found out that it's not looking great from a depth chart standpoint. And then you look at his options. Okay, if you transfer, who was it that was showing me love, during the recruiting process? Most likely Ohio State on the defensive side of the ball. And if that's where he ends up, I don't know what the depth chart looks like, but maybe he has a shot.
And that's a question is, does he really want to play cornerback, or was he just doing that here to try to get it, find a way to get himself on the field? If he wants to be a wide receiver, there are probably a lot of places he can go. Like Chi-Town says, he could be a star on a MAC team. I think he could be a star at Boston College, at
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, there's a lot of places. There's a lot of lower level, Power 5 teams where he could go and be a star as well, whether it's the ACC or SEC, wherever it happens to be. I think there are a lot of places he can go and at the very least be a productive wide receiver and get more playing time than here. Star, I don't know. MAC, he'd have a chance probably to light it up in the MAC. And Salty makes an excellent point. Again, we were talking about everyone wants to see elite recruiting. Salty says this is bound to happen again and again.
Sure.
And it's something that we've talked about on this show, that as this talent, more and more high-level talent starts to come in, you're going to see some guys transferring. Like we've talked about it at the quarterback position. Like you can't keep everybody.
Right.
And I'm not talking about even right now. I'm talking about in the next couple of years, you got to keep going out and finding the best talent that you can, knowing that not everyone can play. And as a result, you're going to see some pretty good talent transfer, at different points.
I mean, your goal as a coach is to bring in the best talent at every single position, every single year. And then once you get them on campus, you let the chips fall where they may. And now that you've got the transfer portal, some of these high-level guys, if they're not playing right away, they're going to go. But you understand that, you recruit that way. You know that that's going to be the case. And so you recruit the crap out of everybody so that you still can field a team when they transfer out. And there's always going to be opportunities for guys to transfer in as well. as long as they check all the boxes, et cetera,
Right.
right? But that's college football right now. I mean, that's where we're at with everything. And Marcus Freeman's an elite recruiter. He has elite recruiters on his staff. This is going to be the norm now. This is not going to be the exception where every once in a while they get a high 4 or 5 star and they're surrounded by a bunch of 3 stars. That's not going to be the case. You're going to have guys battling for spots and they're going to leave if they're not getting the playing time that they want.
Yeah.
I get it.
Troy makes a great point as well. Can he catch the ball? At the end of the day, his hands are below average. I mean, that's what he showed last year.
That's what he showed last year.
And I don't think that based on what didn't happen in fall camp, I don't think that that's any different. Look, there's that old joke that wide receivers who can't catch the ball end up playing defense, and he does have a defensive background. Like my guy Trayvon Diggs, down in Dallas, he started his career at Alabama as a wide receiver, just like his brother, and they moved him to the defensive side of the ball, and he led the NFL in interceptions last season. It's like it happens all the time, and maybe he doesn't really want it right now, but maybe, just maybe, this actually would be best for his career if because I do think that he has NFL aspirations. Maybe it would be best for his career if he gave serious consideration just to moving to cornerback. That could be a career path for him, rather than trying to force the issue and stay on the offensive side of the ball.
A lot of talent, he has a lot of talent. There's going to be a lot of talent coming in. It's going to be disappointing. You're going to lose guys that you were excited about that could have been something. And that's just the way it's going to be, right? I mean, you're going to lose them on both sides of the ball at every position. And it stinks. But at the same time, does it affect Notre Dame in the 23 season?
No.
I don't think it does.
I honestly don't think so. Again, he had the most receptions of any wide receiver for the Irish last year, but it was 30 for 300 and some yards. It's not like he lit the world on fire. Michael Mayer still led the team in receptions and receiving yards, and he was just very inconsistent. So let me ask you this: how much of this do you put on Del Alexander, who was the receivers coach at the start of his career and also, played a part in recruiting him?
Sure. I don't think he's innocent in the whole thing. But I also don't want to put it all on him, right? I mean,
it's easy to pile on him at this point.
Of course. And I don't want to do that.
But those early fundamentals, you don't know how much that could have played a part.
Which honestly is one of the reasons that he's getting not passed up yet, but the gap is closing between some of these freshmen that are coming in, right? And Tobias Merriweather did not have Del Alexander as a coach, and now he's the best receiver on the team, right? So, I think he deserves some of the blame, right? But he's been gone for a year and a bit, so you can't give it all to him, but you can't not. I mean, he doesn't get zero of the blame, right? Because I think it was a very neutral year from a development standpoint, his freshman year, right? And it was obviously very mental for him last year. I totally agree with that. I like the confidence level he had this year. I like the body language. The problem was from just a straight up talent standpoint, he was either getting passed up or he was almost about to get passed up. And that's just is what it is. That's unfortunate, but at the same time, he was a victim of the depth chart.
Yeah. And not just a victim, and like to answer the question for me about Del Alexander, again, it's easy to pile on him. Sure. I think that if at the very least he would have benefited from better fundamentals that freshman year. But at the same time, you've got a guy like Deion Colsey now who started to ascend last year under Chancey Stuckey and who finds himself ready to be a, at the very least contributing / potentially starting receiver at the Z position
right
this year. So again, he was same class as Lorenzo Styles, and he's ready to go after all the questions that came in with him and all the things that were supposed to happen for him. So they all could have benefited from better fundamentals under Del Alexander, but I can't put too much of it on him, I guess.
Right. He's been gone long enough that,
Right.
a transfer decision, what is it,
I mean, you get
13,
a fresh
14 months
start. Fresh
later.
start. Yeah,
Yeah.
fresh start, fresh position coach. You're working on fundamentals now. It's just that for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like he took to it the way that he
Right.
needed to.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's a lot more talent in that room right now than there was a couple of years ago. So
Right.
on a scale of
Yes.
1 to 10, how concerned are you that more transfers could be coming? Because I think that's what, everyone, I think, or maybe not everyone, but I think a lot of people are on pins and needles right now, with spring winding down and the transfer portal open for about another little bit more than a week. I think 9
Sure.
days it is.
I would say, do I think transfers are coming? Yes. Am I concerned? No. I put it like a 2, a 1. Like, I'm not concerned that, a starter or somebody that Notre Dame was counting on for the 2023 season and realistically even the 24 season. I'm not worried about that. So my concern level is very low. Do I think more are coming? Absolutely. I mean, Brian, not dropped the bomb. That's not the right terminology, but he said it in his show this afternoon. Prince Kollie is probably on the way out. We don't know that for sure, but he's been quote unquote injured most of spring. We've been hearing rumblings for quite a while. He said it. I'm echoing, but there's going to be more. There's going to be more. Lorenzo Styles leaving puts Notre Dame at 85. There's going to be more to come, especially after the spring game.
Right.
Like the next week is going to be very interesting when it comes to transfer portal because transfer portal is going to close in a week, I believe. So they're going to have to, S or get off the pot, as they say. So,
yeah. I mean, and like you look at that linebacker position, and my concern level is very low as well. It's like 1. But again, I think guys who we are going to see go out the door are going to be more depth guys than they are,
oh, absolutely.
front end guys at the top of the depth chart right now. That's what's going to come down to for a lot of them. And like, again, if you look at that linebacker position with the talent that they're starting to stockpile there's more coming.
Yeah,
it's
right.
it's gonna keep, and for that matter, the wide receivers, the young Caleb Smith, the freshman Caleb Smith is going to be here on
Right.
campus this summer. So there's another young stud coming in the door there. The talent is coming, and that's part of what causes these little ripples. It would stink, like to your point, to lose a talent like Prince Kollie, but he's also going into his junior season. So
Sure.
you have to evaluate, where is he? What progress has he made right now? We don't get to see enough behind the doors to know exactly what that looks like on a day in, day out basis. I'm not knocking him by any means. But again, you've got Nolan Ziegler, you've got Drake Bowen, you've got all these young guys who are coming in, and they're going to be out there. They're going to be out there. If not this year, they're going to be out there next year. And there's going to be more like them coming in the door. So I don't think, again, you're going to keep recruiting talent. And as you keep recruiting talent, there are going to be some guys who are going to leave. It happens at Alabama. It happens at Georgia. It happens all over the place. So you just got to live with it.
Notre Dame fans just have to, if you want to be here in recruiting, you've just got to expect it. It's going to happen. You've got to expect it. And so here we are. I mean, this is the product of good recruiting.
Ripple effect for you is we did our Blue Gold fantasy draft yesterday.
I took a chance.
And you picked, I don't blame you. You picked Lorenzo Styles in your fantasy. And that's another part of this whole thing is, again, the timing of this. The day before the Blue Gold game, we find this out. And I would have thought that maybe you stick around and play in the Blue Gold game. It's going to be on TV, get more film out, whatever. But
that was my initial. That was 100% my initial thought, actually. And then I listened to Brian's show, and he's like, "Absolutely not. You don't play in the Blue Gold game because it's not even a game.
Don't risk injury." And okay,
you're making a business decision by transferring. Why put yourself in harm's way?
Just like a bowl game potentially. Yeah.
Right. He's like, your heart's not going to be in it. You already know that you're going to transfer, so why would you participate? So I get it, and he's right. It's a practice. It's a glorified practice. There was more on the line last Saturday in the scrimmage that they had than there is this Saturday. It's just this one happens to be in front of fans and on TV. So Personally, I think it sucks. Like I wanted to see him out there and see what he could do, running around the field. But from his standpoint, I get it.
So you took Styles at corner in our fantasy draft for tomorrow's Blue Gold game. And if you weren't here with us yesterday, we drafted 2 teams. Vince and I each took a player at each position. I have Benjamin Morrison at cornerback. Vince took Lorenzo Styles. So my question to our listeners is, should I allow Vince to have a replacement for Styles? Because if this was Las Vegas, I think you just lose it, right?
But if the player doesn't play,
refund your money.
If the player doesn't play, then it's a no-go. Like there's a no bet. So you get your money back and you just don't win anything. It's like a tie. It's like a tie goes to the runner,
So 2 people say that Vince should be able to have a replacement.
Yes.
Is there a transfer portal for fantasy teams? That's a good question. Vince gets Salerno. Derek.
He's not a DB, though.
You get one of the Scheidlers. That's who you get.
Yeah. I think one of them's out, too. So
right.
I'll probably get that one.
All right. So who you going with, Vince? What cornerback do you want to take?
I'm going to go with last year's spring practice MVP, lucky number 7, Jaden Mickey.
All right. Good pick. I was looking over it and I was wondering who you might go with.
Got to go that route, right?
So,
yeah. I would have taken the gray kid if he was playing, let's take a chance on a freshman, that sort of thing. Maybe they're going to try to pick on him, have a chance for a pick, that kind of thing, but you got to go with the tried and the true. And I think Jaden Mickey's got a little something to prove too, which I'm kind of excited about.
Good one. Last spring's kind of breakout guy versus I've got last season's breakout guy. So I've got Morrison. You've got Mickey. All right. So another question. We talked about this yesterday, and I don't think Tommy was with us live, but he tweeted at us today. Did you see his tweet today?
I did not. I had a very busy day, but I saw your question.
So we picked offensive linemen as well, and we really didn't know how to evaluate offensive linemen in terms of what point values to give them. What Tommy suggested is start with a number value like 5 and then subtract for sacks allowed and work down from there.
Can you get negative? Like if you allow 6
I suppose.
Sacks? I suppose. Yeah. Can't imagine that would be the case. But it's definitely possible, right? I'm cool with that. I think it is in alignment with what we were kind of talking about before. You know what I mean? Like a sack is a negative number, but at this rate you get points and then it gets subtracted from the points that you already get. So there is a bonus. So it's not like 0 is the best you can do. You can actually get some points if they don't allow a bunch of sacks. So I kind of like it. You could be net positive.
Here's the question. Are we really going to be able to pay that close attention to be thinking about that while we're doing other stuff? To think about fantasy point values.
I know.
While we're doing other stuff during the game.
The answer is yes, because that's going to be the top of my priority list.
All right.
Because lunch is on the line. So
that's
I
true.
will be keeping very close track of the points.
Or we could just take the offensive lineman off the board and not even, give
we could. So here's my
much
thought
effort into it.
Right. Most of the things that we can get points for and all that, you can just get from the final stat line. Like we don't have to keep a live tally, right? The only thing that you really can't get after the fact is the sack numbers. So
yeah, that's true. You have to be paying attention to who gave them up. Yeah.
Correct. Anytime there's a sack, we're going to have to pay attention to who gave it up. See,
this is why I just think that our best bet is probably just ask Brian when the game's over. Who had the better game, Brian? Fisher or Alt?
And then they get 5 points.
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
I am going to be keeping track as best I can, though, on the whole thing. That's going to be my number one priority. So you actually have to write stories and be a professional. I have to watch the game and take it in so that we can talk about it.
Absorb.
Right.
Yes.
And I'm sure we're going to have a show, all of those things. So like, that's my main goal. Like, I'm not going to be charting or any of that stuff like I do for a normal game because it's the blue gold game. Like, I'm not worried about that.
Speaking of which, fill in the blank. The non-quarterback, because of course we'll be talking about the quarterbacks Monday. The non-quarterback we're going to be talking about the most on Monday will be blank.
See, before about 2 hours ago, or 3 or 4, or however many it was going to be Lorenzo
probably would have
Styles.
been it. Yeah.
It was going to be, how did he do? Can he legitimately play corner at this level? Like, that is who I thought we would be talking about, to be honest with you. The gold team thinks we're going to be talking about Jabron Payne because that's why they took him number 1 overall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the case. We're going to be talking about some non-starter type of person that balled out, in the game.
Caught our attention.
We're never going to see again. Who was the kid who got MVP a few years back? Junior Jabby, I think, got
right.
Was that him? He got MVP
there's a name
one
from the
year.
past.
Yeah, right. Like, that's okay. I'm gonna go with Rico Flores. That's gonna be my thought process. I'm gonna go Rico Flores. We're hearing all kinds of great things. I think he shows out. I think he shows out in this one.
You're going Rico Flores. The one, I mean, the first name I thought of, and not even because he was the number 1 draft pick, is Jabron Payne, the first guy you mentioned.
Sure.
Just because of the fact that there's one scholarship running back on each team. And
right.
I just think that after the game, we're going to be talking about Jabron Payne and going, man, look at the game he just had. And how's he going to fit into this crowded backfield? Like between the two,
because he's
2 guys that you've got coming back. Yeah. Because you've got Estime, you've got Diggs, Jadarian Price, if he's fully healthy, coming back. And then you've got Jeremiah Love, who we talked about on yesterday's show with all that speed. So, like, I think that's what we're going to be talking about is Jabron Payne and where he fits and how they're going to, are they going to be able to find ways to get him the ball, or is it going to be the next Junior Jabby and have a big blue gold game? And then what happens next?
Embarrassment of riches in the running back room. Like, almost too many to. It's almost too many. I mean, they have too much talent. I know that's crazy to say, but they have too much talent in the running back room. So, I mean, gosh, I really hope there's not going to be any attrition in the running back room, but it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. I hope all those guys stick around.
Brandon brings up a good point. If they keep the teams the way they are right now, Greathouse is on the same team as Thomas and Salerno. Flores has Meriwether, Tyree, and Colsey, on that blue team that is stacked on that blue team. So
that's true. That is true.
Fourth quarter will probably determine a lot, with the running clock
and that's when
that's
when it's going to be Minchie versus Angeli, right? I mean, that's going to be the fourth quarter, people. Like, everybody knows that's what's going to happen, right?
Yep. Chi-Town is laying his chips on Xavier Watts. It's not a bad one either.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
I think the walk-ons are going to get a lot of action in the second half.
Oh, that's what absolutely. I think. Absolutely.
As many as possible. How about some Notre Dame men's basketball? A couple of different press releases today. I don't even know if you saw the second one. There's a second one. So Notre Dame men's basketball coach Micah Shrewsberry's first staff is taking shape now. He added they announced 2 different assistants today. They officially announced former Virginia assistant Kyle Getter as Shrewsberry's associate head coach. And then a few hours later, they announced Mike Farrelly, who was with Shrewsberry at Penn State, as one of his assistants as well. He oversaw recruiting, one of their top recruiters anyway, at Penn State. So what do you think about the hires that Shrewsberry's making here?
Well, that is the common thread, is recruiting. And when I read through the release on the first guy, the new associate head coach, he's an elite recruiter. And then the next one that they hire was the recruiting coordinator at Penn State, and he had a pretty decent class coming in this past year. And it sounds like most of them are going to be coming to Notre Dame potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it's smart to bring him on board. Number one, because he can obviously recruit, and number two, because he's probably going to bring these guys with him. Because you figure the head coach and the recruiting coordinator, I mean, there's only so many assistant coaches on a staff. So they're more likely to follow two of the coaches to the same place, right? So it's very Marcus Freeman-like. I mean, I hate to compare the two, but you remember I asked the question in Marcus Freeman's opening press conference, what are you looking for when you're looking for assistant coaches? And he's like, elite recruiters. That's one of the number one things that I'm looking for. And it sounds like Micah Shrewsberry's in the same vein. I want dogged recruiters, and it looks like he's following suit.
Yeah, I mean, like when you look at the first guy, Getter, I mean, he was part of Virginia's 2019 national championship team, and really, I think when you look at Virginia, like I think this is a really good get for Shrewsbury to get a guy like Getter, Getter, Virginia, to me, like you can make a case for them right there with Duke, maybe 1A or 1B or whatever with Duke as the next most consistent team after Duke in the ACC over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Whatever you want to go. I mean, they won and they've got a national championship to show for it. Duke doesn't even have that. Of course, they also had a first round exit to UMBC the year before that, but still, they were a number 1 seed the year before that. But I mean, they've won the ACC regular season 3 times in the time that he was there. They had a second place finish as well. Again, a lot of success. And going back even deeper, Getter was on Shaka Smart's staff in 2011 when they made that run to the Final Four at Virginia Commonwealth, and then, again, like you throw in a guy like Farrelly, who at Penn State last year, Penn State just had the best recruiting class in program history, and Farrelly was a big part of it, so, Shrewsberry came in the door talking about the goal is to win national championships, and it seems to me like he went out and one was inside his staff already, but he went outside his staff and went to Getter, and they've got a couple pretty good ones, I think, coming in. So it's starting to take shape, and it's pretty exciting. They've just got to go out and keep mining that transfer portal right now after getting Julian Roper earlier this week.
Well, and again, you want to temper the expectations as far as what is going to happen this year, maybe even next year, right? Because it's going to be a very young team. There's going to be a lot of learning and a lot of, it's going to take time. This isn't going to be the Fab Five. Okay. So it's going to take some time, but I love where things are headed. I really do. And if you're patient, I think the Notre Dame program is going to be in good hands, at least at this point. Like as of right now, if I was going to project, I would say it looks good. It looks good.
I concur. Speaking of Notre Dame basketball, fill in the blank. It's blank that former Irish men's basketball player Cormac Ryan is going to finish his college career as a North Carolina Tar Heel.
Good for him. I mean, you want to talk about going from the cellar to the penthouse. I mean,
well,
I realize North Carolina.
I mean, in terms of basketball brands, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
in terms of the brands,
pure basketball brands, yeah.
I think that's fantastic for him. I mean, good for him. Way to finish out your career, man. Like that's impressive. I mean, that's all I don't have anything else to say. I mean, I like Cormac Ryan when he was here. I don't blame him for leaving based on where Notre Dame's roster is going to be. I mean, even though North Carolina obviously did not have a great year, I still think their roster's in better shape than Notre Dame's.
Yeah, I mean, watch him go to North Carolina and just, like lead the ACC in three-point shooting or something next year,
exactly.
But, it's in better shape than Notre Dame's, but at the same time, the best they decided not to play in the NIT this year.
That's true.
When they didn't make the NCAA tournament, so this is
The
kind of a
Irish
big
didn't even get an
year,
invite,
I think.
so
No, and I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to knock them. I'm just saying North Carolina is not quite what it was even the year before when they played for a
Sure.
national championship. They
That's
failed. They
true.
were I think the first team in at least a long time, if not ever, to start the season number 1 and end up not even making the NCAA tournament. So, especially with the size of the field that it is right now. I just expect Cormac Ryan to go there, wear Tar Heel blue, and he'll start ringing up the 3-pointers after,
of course,
what we saw the last couple of years here. So you're right. Good for him. He gets to move on, and he definitely he's one of those guys who I think needed a change of scenery after kind of the way things ended here the last couple of years. So we'll get to see him when Notre Dame plays him at some point next season.
Absolutely.
Jalen Smith, former Notre Dame football player, former Notre Dame All-American. He's going to open a ramen bar in South Bend that'll be called Jinya Ramen. Where do you stand on ramen, Vince, as a meal?
I actually don't mind it, to be honest with you. I'm a 2-pack ramen guy. Big fan of the beef flavor.
Okay, hold on. Let's just back off. Okay. We're not talking about crap ramen like 25 cents you go to Walmart and get.
That's what I'm talking about, because
I'm talking about real. I'm talking about real ramen. I don't think they're going to be cracking open packets of ramen in the back of the Jinya ramen bar.
Probably never had it, because I don't eat upscale stuff.
There's a place over by, what do they call between the buns? They don't call it between the buns anymore. They're, on the bend there, right down the street from Martin's. There's like a little.
Area you're talking about, yeah.
I've eaten real ramen once last summer. My wife and I went there, and it was actually pretty good. Okay. Karen says Evil Czech has great ramen. I didn't realize that Evil Czech had ramen. Interesting. Okay.
There you go. I am not sophisticated enough. I'm breaking off the 25-cent ramen. That's what I like, but I never eat it, obviously, as an adult. But
all right.
I loved it when I was in college. I thought that's what you were talking about.
No, we're talking about, like, now. Backup says Jinya is a chain. It's mid. So I just Tap House on the Edge. Thank you, Brandon. I couldn't think of it. It's been a while. I don't get over there. I used to live right down the street. It's not far from there, but I just don't get over there as much anymore. Yeah, and there's like a little ramen place in that, not on that same side, but across from it, like where I think there used to be like a comic book store or music store or something like that, where the pizza places and all that. On that side, there's a little ramen place. You should try it out sometime.
All right.
Like the real ramen. I was actually fairly impressed with actual real ramen. It's much more filling than, crack your 30-cent package stuff in the microwave as well.
Well, let me just say that I will completely out myself on this one. I didn't know there was another kind of ramen. So
I mean, when you saw this question, did you really think that, like, at a ramen bar they have like stacks of those things and that's what they're cracking and that's what they're serving you in an actual ramen restaurant?
More ramen. Mark it up. I mean, you can make a ton of money.
We're not talking about poor college students. Come on.
You can make a ton of money selling ramen. Come on. The markup would be amazing. You could sell for $5 a bowl and you're living in a mansion here real quick.
Yeah, Siggy says it is way better than pho, though. So
is that how you pronounce that?
It is.
Okay.
I watch Food Network, Vince.
That is true. I know Bailey. Bailey is a huge Food Network diva. So I am not.
Aksan Ramen. Yes.
Yeah, I have shown my ignorance to the world. The only ramen I know is
that's okay.
The kind that's on the bottom shelf at the grocery store.
Yep. Yes, I'm very cultured, very
compared to me. Yeah,
high end. I use a pinky and everything.
I'm not.
All right, Vince. In the movie Alien, have you seen the movie Alien?
No, I know that it's a classic, and no, I haven't.
It is. It came out before you were born, actually. I
Right.
think Sigourney Weaver classic.
Yep.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I was listening to a podcast. They were talking about it this week. They go on a deep intergalactic space mission, and so deep into space, they have to sleep for 10 months on the spaceship. They go into these little pods, they sleep for 10 months. So, two questions for you. One, if you had to sleep for 10 straight months, what's the first thing you'd do when you woke up?
Besides pee, because that would be the first thing I would have to do.
I'm going to assume that they've got you like connected to something that facilitates
I know.
that.
That's the first thing that came to my mind when I read that
That's
question.
like, during the 10-month sleep, how many times do I get to wake up in the middle of the night?
I mean, the first thing I would want to do is just have an amazing meal. I mean, just an amazing meal. That would be the first thing I would want to do. And then I'd want to check up on like all my sports teams, like how'd they do, where they at, is there still a job for me at IB? Like all of those different, like I would want to check up on my sports teams as I'm eating my amazing meal. Like that's what I mean. I would want like a 4-course meal.
That would be as I'm eating my pepperoni and sausage pizza, which would be the first thing. Like
Nice.
I would go straight to that.
Nice.
I would be like you. I would be like, okay, what just happened in the last 10 months in sports? Who won the Super Bowl? Who won the World Series? Whatever, how did Notre Dame, all these different things. I would have to find out like what just happened, as my beard grew down to my ankles or whatever. So yeah, that would be the first two things would be the food, and because again, I'm going to assume they've got you hooked up to something to take care of your, bodily needs.
Well, I mean, asleep for 10 months. I mean, I know how much I go in the morning, so
Ice cold beverage, ice cold beer. That's a good one as well.
You can't go wrong there.
While I'm eating that pizza. That's exactly right. So, my next question, if you had to pick a 10-month window that you had to sleep in this, what 10-month stretch would it be?
So this is hard.
From when to when?
Yeah, that means you're asleep for 10 months. You only get 2 months, basically.
Exactly.
To be around. So I said you go to sleep in December and you get to wake up at the beginning of October. And there's and it's really all based on sports because in my opinion, October, November is like the best time for sports. Football, baseball playoffs, like that's the best opportunity in my mind to be around for sports. So I'm going December through September, and I'm around for October and November.
This is uncanny, Vince. That's my exact same 10-month window.
Yes!
You could be my pod mate. Woo! That's right. It's like, because I thought about it. It's like, do I want to be awake? Do I want to be, whatever during the Super Bowl? Like, where does this need to be? And the exact reason you said, like, for one, October is the best sports month of the year.
Absolutely.
Because like everything is kicking into gear, college football and the NFL. And then of course, November ends the regular season for college football. So like you would get the most important college football, everything except for the bowl games and the playoff games and stuff like that. You got the World Series in there and the playoffs going on for baseball. And some of your other sports are getting started in November, like college basketball, the NBA and hockey, like all that stuff is starting as well. So it's got to be October and November that I want to be awake for. Like again, like I'll find out who won the Super Bowl and the college football national championship after the fact, but that would have to be my 10-month window, December through September.
Yeah, I mean, I was contemplating September, October, but then I was like, well, you know what? You throw in Thanksgiving in November, and it gives me a chance to see my entire family before I, hit the big sleep for 10 months. It's an excuse to get together, and you kind of get to miss all the nonsense that goes along with Christmas. I mean,
see, Chi-Town said he would go October 31st to December 31st so that he got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's Eve. But
I
I hadn't thought about missing Christmas, but at the same time, like I'd still get
uh,
Thanksgiving in
right.
November,
And
and yeah,
I'm sorry, New Year's Eve, that's not a thing. I've never understood the excitement around New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve does nothing for me. I've never gone out. I never will go out. New Year's Eve is for amateurs, in my opinion. I don't. It's not. I've
well,
worked on New Year's
you're
Eve.
not much of a drinker anyway, so like
No,
you know,
but I've worked on New Year's Eve many times.
yeah.
That kind of a thing. I've just never understood it. Hey, boy,
Do you get
okay,
better tips on New Year's Eve? Like, what are the tips like?
depends on how drunk people are.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
mean, you're
point.
open later, so obviously you have an opportunity to make some more money. It's busier, people want to go out, that kind of thing. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's been a while, obviously, since I worked New Year's, but I've just never. I always volunteered to work on New Year's because everybody else wanted to go out and be stupid, and I was like, I'll make money. I'm in. So yeah, it's never been a thing for me. What do you think about New Year's? Is that you get excited about it?
I mean, we're in bed by 11 o'clock, probably at the latest
Seriously.
most of the time anymore. We just stopped like even caring about New Year's Eve.
Yes. It's like it's the next day. I don't really I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. The only difference is you're writing a different number when you write
Well,
a
and like
date.
this year, I had a noon game on New Year's Day
That's
that I
right.
had to call. Like
That's
women's
right.
basketball played on New Year's Day at noon.
So you weren't
Fortunately,
even
it was a
home.
home game, but
Oh yeah, you
I
were
was
home.
home, but it was,
But
yeah, still.
yeah, I just never gotten it. I've never understood the excitement. I don't know.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you survived. Like I don't whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Got another late thought on Lorenzo Styles. He says the writing was on the wall when I heard a quote from Freeman when he said the road was going to be bumpy. Not good. I think Lorenzo saw those freshmen and said, "I'm in trouble." I
Well,
don't
and it's
doubt
not
that.
just the freshman. I mean, he got passed up by Merriweather and Tyree kind of got because so remember, he played some slot, he played some field, and he kind of got passed up all the way around. So because he played slot the second half of the year when number 3 got hurt.
Avery Davis.
Thank you. When Avery Davis went down, he moved into the slot. So he was starting in the slot, the rest of the year. And then he got passed up by JT. And then Merriweather passes him up in the field. And then Tyree. And then you've got Rico. Like, again, he was just a victim of the depth chart.
Yeah. Derek says he'd go under right now. Allergies are killing me. And you would miss the allergy season if you were asleep in the spring and summer as well.
That is
Yeah.
clutch because I have
Get a little bit of the fall allergies, I guess, in October when the leaves are still
a
falling.
little
and all
bit.
that
It's
stuff,
more like
but
August, September for me than it is October,
is it? Okay. Got a super chat. Thanks, Chief
Woo!
Brody. He says he predicts Hartman struggles and Buckner balls out, but come fall, Hartman is named the starter because that's just what Notre Dame fans need to get all riled up.
Well, Chief, I'm all for fans getting riled up because that means they're going to be watching our show. So
I am, and again, we're gonna get overreactions to something
oh my gosh,
that
yes.
happens tomorrow, especially with the quarterbacks. But I'm starting to wonder, like I don't even know if it's fair to call whatever Sam Hartman did in the practices that we saw struggling. I think that is way too much to call it struggling. But
Yeah,
like to
I
hear
agree.
the fact that the offense lit up the defense in that scrimmage last week, that's what I'm waiting to see. Like this is a guy who's in his sixth spring. 6 springs. How much does spring really matter?
Right.
Other than learning the playbook and getting acquainted with your receivers and some of that stuff. How much does that really matter to a guy like Sam Hartman? And I think that in a competitive environment, that's what I really do want to see tomorrow is like what we see from both of these guys competitively in at least somewhat competitive situations in the first half. What do these guys look like?
I actually agree with Chief. I think the game and the rosters are set up for Buckner to have a better game.
They are actually when you look at who's around him. Yeah, he's got
that's why
Merriweather and Tyree. Yeah,
that's why I took him in the draft. I took him before Hartman because I think it's set up for him to be more successful. Again, it's one game. At the end of the day, I think Hartman's going to be the starter come August 26th or whatever the date is. But I think in this particular game, Buckner's set up to do better.
Yeah, this is what I'm waiting for, as D-Rock Irish says.
Seriously.
Fan base would freak if Angeli and Minchie only played at quarterback. And I mean, I wouldn't
wait.
Wouldn't put it past anybody.
Just wait. They each get one series, the other guys, and then these two play the rest of the way. Like, just watch.
Have you seen any update on the shirt? I went to the shirt Twitter, and they tweeted 8 days ago that they're going to be out there today. I haven't seen like a picture of the shirt on Twitter. Have you?
I have not. I see that there's a live viewing. WNDU has a live viewing, but I haven't seen.
Oh, you know what? We started at 5 today. We usually start at 6. They haven't even started, so
it's at 6.
That's why.
Yep, you're right. I see that now. Yep. That's all right.
I'm just so used to us starting at 6 o'clock that I fooled myself.
It's all good.
Yeah. It's Derek says he thinks they play most of the game. By they, are you talking about the starters or the backups?
I would say I hope he's talking about the backups because I think that's the way it's going to go.
Do you think we see the starters play most of the first half, though? It's a good point about Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams only played one drive, but he's also
not in a quarterback
Heisman
competition.
Winner.
He's not in a quarterback competition. I could very easily see them both play in the first half. Yeah, I could see that. And then the other two play the second half. I would
think so.
Yeah.
I would think so. That's how I'm leaning. That they play most of the first half. By halftime, they're probably gone. And we see Angeli and Minchie in the second half.
Yep.
That's what I think happens.
I agree. All right, Sean.
We'll find out tomorrow. Well, Vince, appreciate it. Enjoyed it as always.
Sir.
You've got
I got track duties
to go to. Is that right?
I have to work it, actually. I got the stopwatch. I'm out there working today. So
yeah, I mean, as Derek said, competition was last Saturday, probably so.
Yes.
Tomorrow's a little bit of a horse and pony show or dog and pony show, but
absolutely.
Yeah. Everyone in red jerseys I have no doubt, Brody, that everyone, quarterbacks are going to be in red jerseys tomorrow.
Yes.
No doubt about that.
Question.
And it'll be touch football for the quarterbacks.
Yep. And if that might even be too aggressive. So
right. And I mean, if you've watched in the NBA lately, I don't know, like if you watch the James Harden ejection, or if you saw any replays of that was just, there was like a little elbow in the midsection of this guy when he was like, and they threw him out of the game for that. I don't even know what basketball is anymore.
Yeah, that's why I can't watch it. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Hit the like button on your way out. Blue Gold game coming up tomorrow. And of course, we'll be talking about it right here Monday. Appreciate you for stopping in today. And we will talk to you then. Have a great weekend. I've been Asian Sports Talk.